Now let's start with our today's topic, that is on REST API. So guys, the reason we picked up this topic on REST API is that this is not dependent on any cloud. So over here today, some of you are attending AWS sessions, or some of you are, would like to attend AWS sessions or classes. Some of you would like to attend Azure classes, or some of you would like to attend some other classes. But REST API is actually a concept which is followed in all the clouds, in all the DevOps area. It's actually a concept which is followed across the globe. Okay. Now you would be wondering, then what is this REST API? So if I tell you, that there is, let's imagine that there is an application. Okay. So let's imagine that you have an application like Facebook. Okay. When you have a Facebook application has one user interface. Okay. User interface, which means this is the interface by which every one of you can use Facebook. So in our cell phone, we can download an application, or on a Google Chrome, we can open an application that is Facebook, and we can click on some buttons. We can type something in the text box. We can see some images. So that is user interface, an interface which is made for users. Okay. Now, this user interface can only be used by humans. So if there are humans, so those humans can actually use this user interface. But now the humans can use this Facebook with the help of UI. But what about, there are third-party applications? There are applications which also would like to integrate with Facebook. Okay. So there are some applications which also would like to integrate with Facebook. Now, user interface is actually made for users, which means humans. But what about third-party APIs or third-party applications? So if there are multiple applications, how these applications can interact with Facebook? Because applications are non-living. Those are not humans, right? So these applications are actually non-living. So how will these applications will interact with Facebook, or will use Facebook service, or Facebook as an application? So for that reason, Facebook also exposed another interface, that is API, application programming interface. So this interface is meant to be used by all the different applications. User interface is being used by users, humans. However, on the other end, applications always use API, which is application programming interface, to interact with different applications. Now I hope you understand that if there are two applications, let's imagine that there are two applications. This is app 1 and this is application 2. Okay. Now, when application 1 and application 2 would like to communicate with each other, so they need the API. Okay. Application programming interface. This application programming interface belongs to this application, so that application 1 can communicate with application 2 via API. API is the application programming interface which enables the communication between two applications. Let's imagine that there is another application which would like to communicate with application 1. Now, let's imagine that this app 1 does not expose any API. It does not have any API. In that case, there cannot be any communication. There cannot be any communication. But if this application has API, application programming interface, then app 0 can communicate with app 1. So API integration is certainly very important, because applications cannot talk to each other. Now before we actually jump on to the real concept or the technology, let's first go through the, the examples. So these examples are going to help you to understand what I am trying to communicate with all of you. Let's imagine these are users. Okay. So these are users. And I hope every one of you has, might have, placed the order on Amazon. Like Amazon is an e-commerce website where you can, you know, buy, clothes, electronic items, a lot of different, commodities you can buy on Amazon. But when you try to check out, when you proceed to check out, what happens? It basically, Amazon collects your information like your credit card details. It, captures your expiry time. Okay. It captures your OTP, one time password. And then it basically communicate with other applications such as PayPal, and PayPal deducts the money from your account. Now, can you imagine, guys, that when you are trying to buy something and your money is getting deducted from the bank account, how is this possible? Is it a magic somewhere happening that you clicked on proceed to check out and automatically your money is deducted from your account? There is no magic. There are two applications which are communicating with each other to make that checkout happen. Okay. So let's say that when you buy something on Amazon, Amazon will send a request to PayPal that Naman is trying to buy a product from us. Please deduct $50 from his account. PayPal will validate all the information provided as part of request, and it will deduct $50 and will send the success response that the transaction is successful. Please ship the order. So there is a communication between two applications which are happening. So you can consider this is application one and this is application two. And these two applications are having communication between each other. Now, now you would be wondering, how is this possible? How two applications are able to communicate with each other? Because PayPal exposes the API. Okay. So PayPal has API, application programming interface. This interface is meant for application to application conversation. And that is why Amazon is able to talk to PayPal with the help of API. After that, we have, like, let's go to another, example. Let's imagine you would like to book flight tickets. So when you would like to book flight tickets, let's say you would like to travel from New York to Paris. Now you will search tickets on Google. So you will search flights on Google, and whichever you think you will be buying the tickets, then Google as an application is going to communicate with the airline application. So airline will also have its own application. So Ethiopian Airlines or United Airlines or Air France, Air India, all these are different, companies, different organizations, and each and every organization has their own application. So Google will communicate that Naman is trying to book a flight from London to Paris at this time, and here's the booking details. So there is a communication between application to application so that you know flight tickets can be booked. And how it is possible? It is possible because Ethiopian Airlines application exposes API. So with the help of API, Google is able to communicate with the Ethiopian Airlines. There is no magic which is happening around the globe. It is API which is actually making things possible within few clicks, few seconds. So within few seconds, everything is done. So when you click on proceed to checkout, within 5 seconds, your payment is done. How is this possible? There is no human who is going to, collect the money from bank, or basically, deduct the money from bank. There is an application to application communication, and that is possible with the help of API. Now, there are several types of API. However, REST, REST is one of the best API communication across the globe. Okay. And every other application in today's world, whether it's a banking applications, whether it's it's airlines application, whether it's Netflix, any application, they use REST API. REST stands for representational state transfer. Okay, representational state transfer. So this API actually enables the communication between two applications. Okay. Now let's imagine that this is your application one, and then you have application two. Okay. Now you have to enable the communication between application one and application two. You will be able to do it with the help of REST API. Okay. Now, what do we actually need? So these are the requirements so that a request can basically go. So these are the requirements, and there will be a response which will be sent back. Okay. So over here, first of all, you need the HTTP URL. Okay. URL is Uniform Resource Locator, which means this is the address of the application, destination application. So you need a destination application address. So this is the address. Okay, this is the address of the des application 2. After that, you have to send some details, okay, in the request. So when you are trying to send a request, you have to send the details. Like if you are making a payment, then you have to send credit card information. You have to send other information about user. So you will be sending in the body. So there will be a body which will contain all the information about credit card, about different, different information which needs to be sent to application 2. And after that, we have HTTP methods. This is very important. Now, it is very difficult for application 2 to understand what is the purpose of this request, what application 1 is trying to do. So there are some HTTP methods, or this is also known as verb. So this specify what this application 1 is trying to do. So this is, you can say, this is actually is the intention, what application 1 would like to do with application 2. Over here, guys, what I'm trying to say is application 1 is trying to communicate with application 2. What are the requirements? We are discussing about the requirements, that what are the requirements for this application communication. Now let's imagine that there is a person 1, a human 1, and person 2. When person 1 is requesting person 2, let's say that you are trying to buy some groceries, okay, in the store. So person 1 will basically pass some message or a request to store owner that I would like to buy this thing, I would like to buy that. So this is kind of a communication we are trying to have between applications. So application 1 would like to have the communication with application 2, and there is a request, because application is application. It is not intelligent like human. Humans are more intelligent than software. So these are two different software which are trying to communicate. So in the request, this request has to be very proper so that application 2 can understand. Now, humans can understand by making some actions or by passing some message, but application 1 and application 2 can communicate with the help of proper request. And these are the requirements for the request. What are the requirements? First is URL. URL means link of second application. Link, just like you have google.com, facebook.com, those are the links. So you have to give the address. URL is the address of second application. So then that is why application 1 will be able to send the request. Then we have HTTP body. Body specify what is going to be there in the request. So it is going to contain, the credit card information. When, let's say, Amazon is trying to communicate with PayPal. So Amazon will send credit card information of user. It will send the amount to be deducted. It will send user information as well. So all this part of all that will be part of HTTP body. Okay. So body will contain actual message. And method specify what action need to be performed. Let's say there are various methods, but there are primarily 4 methods: get, post, put, delete. Let's say if you choose delete, what will happen? That information from application 2 will be deleted. But Amazon is not trying to delete anything. It is trying to make the transaction. It is trying to deduct the money. So for that, you will use post. Post is actually used to tell application 2 that you have to perform that certain action. Get. Get is used, let's say if application 1 is trying to get some information from application 2. So you will choose keyword get. And put, let's say that you would like to update something. Let's say there are some entries. Let's say you would like to schedule your flight tickets, reschedule your flight tickets. So you are trying to update the timing or date and time. So you are trying to update something. So get is to retrieve some data. Post is for making transactions. Put is used for updating something. And delete is used to delete some data on application 2. So on behalf of these verbs, application 2 can understand the intention of app 1, that what is application 1 trying to say. So whatever request you pass, that will have all these information, the address, because see there are so many applications in the world. So address is important. Otherwise, how application 1 will know that this is the application 2? There are so many applications. So you have to specify the address. Now body will contain actual matter. It will contain information, and method will tell what is the intention of request, whether it has to be deleted, like data needs to be deleted, or application 1 is trying to retrieve some data, or it is trying to update something, or it is trying to make some transaction. So these are the methods which are used accordingly. Now you can see over here a diagram. So here in the diagram, you can see this is the application 1, which is trying to talk to application 2. So you can say this is the client application and this is the web server. Now, when application 1 is trying to make the request, so what we need HTTP method, which is the intention, whether it should be get, post, put, delete. Then we have HTTP URL. HTTP URL will tell the address. Body will contain the matter, and authorization token. This is really important, guys. Authorization token is like your password. Application 1 is talking to application 2. Now, every application cannot have access to application 2. So there will be a special token by which that request will be authorized, and then only the response will be sent back. Now, when the response is sent back, if the transaction is successful, there will be a success message that transaction is successful. If transaction is failed, if request is failed, then it will say failed, request failed. Okay, so there will be an important message which will be sent in the response. There is one more thing, which is status code. Status code means that it basically helps the receiver over here, the application 1, it basically receive a status code. On that basis, it is able to identify whether the request was successful or was failed. So if the status code is 200 in IT, 200 status code means that the request is successful. So if application 1 is receiving after transaction, if application 1 is receiving status code 200, it means transaction was successful. If the status code was 400, it means application 1 will understand. If the request was 400, then it understands, okay, it understands that the request over here in body, there was some problem. So there are various status code which you can read online, and that will be really good. Okay, so this is it, guys, from REST concept.
Thank you for watching. Switch from non-IT to IT today. Explore www.thinkcloudly.com.